You can't be
Cobb.
serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Well, what's Don?
Don.
Who is it?
Tim Clark.
Oh,
Oh, well, it's good he's got a mobile.
Yeah. You paying any attention to this? What are you doing?
That's got all my information on for today's program.
Oh,
so what do I do? Do I turn that off?
That'll be a short message.
And it's good to see you in a good mood. You've just gone straight. You should.
Well,
be,
I was about to say
you should be kicked up the arse as a kid for that type of.
That's
temper.
the biggest tantrum that either of us have seen in 20 years.
How old are you? My 4-year-old grandson
like
did that
going
last
to a zoo
week.
and looking through a cage
No.
at
You
YouTube.
misplaced a book and you turned the joint upside down, literally.
So I started off by saying tense up, and then the phone rang, and we've got onto a completely ridiculous subject about
What
why
your
Don-
temper? It's not a ridiculous subject.
So
you upset everybody.
Were you indulged as a child, were you?
Tense up, Mick.
No.
Because people are going to have an opportunity shortly to come and see if I've got a temper, if Donna's got a brain, and if you're still actually in the land of the living, Mick. Because at the Lobster Cave, people have been... You rolling your eyes?
Yeah.
People
Yes, I am.
are entering a competition at the Lobster
Really?
Cave to come and have a meal with the three of us, Mick, Sam and Don. And if you want to go to the Instagram page Sam, Mike and Don, you can then hit the link to enter the competition, and you will go down people. I think the 6 of them can come. Renee Kink said he wanted to come, so there goes Bill's profits. There goes the Ferg's profits for the year, because he'll eat a bucket full of smashed crabs on his own and eat the shells for roughage and go outside and, I know, bend over and shoot the neighbour's dog. So, Mick, so Bill will be there. Don, have you got wind or are you grinning?
No, I just couldn't believe. Shoot the neighbour's dog.
When you bend over, see the shells
I
come out.
understand. I thought it was very good.
Yeah. So Bill will be there, apparently. Don't say because he got a leg and everything.
No,
He'll
we're not going
he'll
to.
be on a trolley and he'll have life support. It'll be in there. And the chef down there, I think his name is Harold. No, it's not Harold. He'll be John. How could I forget the name John? He pushes him round between the tables now on a trolley, and Bill says hello with the one arm he's got. He just shakes people's hands. So we're going down and at the Lobster Cave, and it's fantastic. We can have skate down there, skate and hammerheads.
Okay.
Shark, whales, whale sharks. So that's what we're doing by entering the competition. And Mick, I'm going to just give you a warning now, mate. You've seemed to get most of the people we get in here to do the podcast offside. You
Really?
got Rex offside.
Oh, and don't tell me there's another instalment about that in the Herald Sun, is there?
I won't tell you that, is there, Don?
There is.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay. Yeah.
You think now, seriously, you'd think that Rex and I were two heads of state, wouldn't you? They
Well, you're two.
carried something yesterday about Rex returning to 3AW to call the bushfire game, right?
Yes, good.
So they wrote 2 sentences about that and 25 sentences about the exchange Rex and I had 3 months ago.
Well, it's because you're clickbait,
Oh,
Mick.
clickbait. Who would give us stuff
You're-
that Rex and I don't get on?
You're fish bait.
Who would care that we don't get on?
Well, I care.
I do.
No
wait,
one.
There's two people.
Yeah.
There's two people who care. Don and I care.
You care, do you?
Yeah.
I just said I care. So you got him offside.
No, you said we buried the hatchet.
I didn't say.
Yes, you did.
Fiona Byrne did.
And then you said, "Oh no, they're okay. They get on well."
He's,
Well, is there someone
I'll
here?
tell you
Is there
what,
someone else in the room?
He's getting a second win now. Before we couldn't mention his name
No.
and say, "Don't mention I'm here." Now he's shouting out.
He's
He'll
reaching
be,
for
his
the
own
mic.
he'll be turning the
microphone.
microphone on shortly and actually be running this show. So Mick,
That's
you've-
crap. That's very disappointing of the Herald Sun
for-
to continue to write the same shit
Oh,
4 or 5
you're
times in a
disappointed
row.
in the Herald Sun, are you, Mick?
On several fronts,
really?
John. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, join the club.
And
now, Mick,
Sam Weir, the new editor, is coming on here.
I bet you he doesn't.
I'll bet you he does. He sent me an assurance yesterday
An
that he
assurance?
just wants to settle into Melbourne because he's new.
Settle into Melbourne.
and then
What's
he-
wrong with him? Stump up, Sam. God almighty, settle into Melbourne. Get in your car and come down here. It's a 4-minute drive and speak to some friends. Now, Mick,
Yep.
so I'm giving you a sort of a nice friendly warning.
Yep.
you're ostracising most of the people we get on. Rex, I know you don't care if you ostracise him.
Yeah.
Ross Lyon, you ripped it.
Andrew
him and
Bolt.
Yeah.
Andrew Bolt, Ross Lyon, Andrew Rule. You
I
said,
didn't fight with him.
No,
you
Rule was
said
all right.
something that was salacious, and we had to get legaled by the. I
No.
spent $2,500 getting some legal advice from a solicitor from a law firm in Melbourne as to whether we could put on what
Actually,
you said about him.
You know what happened that day? Andrew Rule says, we can't talk about Robbie Waterhouse because he'll sue us over blah, blah, blah.
and you said exactly what he could. Then you said exactly what he could sue us over. You mentioned why we shouldn't mention him.
Anyway, all right. Well, next time we have a guest, I'll just sort of nod my head and say yes to everything.
Well, that's all you do mostly anyhow.
Is that right?
Well,
is
you've got that bobblehead going on you.
Well, who?
You know those dogs that sit in the back of cars, and then when they stop at the lights, their head wobbles around. That's you.
Can we talk about something serious?
Righto. Well, I just wanted to warn
I don't
you.
care whether. No, I do care whether I alienate people, but I think you've overstated it a bit.
Oh,
Now,
really?
Did you guys watch the? I only watched it for 1 minute, and I saw your segment, the documentary on Sunday night.
You watched it for 1 minute.
Yes, and
that's
I
a disgrace. That is.
I turned it off.
It's a major social issue, and you turned it off.
Can I ask you one? Question?
We're talking about
John.
We're talking about the Adam Goods doco.
Yes.
Which is called. It was called The Australian Dream.
And
Shut up, Rod, will you?
He's become a prompter.
John, can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you like.
Thank you
Don.
very much. Now, you got into trouble for wearing a black face.
Blacking up, yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Nicky Winmar
Yes.
had come on that show, you wouldn't have put that face on, would you?
Of course not, Donald.
Okay, now why didn't Nicky Winmar come on the show?
Wiki Nick Bar. He didn't come on because he was apparently at a hotel having a couple of convivial drinks with friends. This was what I was told.
Why wouldn't Nicky Winmar accept responsibility for not coming on the show?
No, Don, please. Nicky Winmar's not responsible for me going out the makeup room during an ad break and putting my face.
No, but
had
had he been responsible and turned up, you wouldn't have done that.
I've just said that I wouldn't have done that. Be no need.
The more relevant point, Johnny,
Yes.
if you were to do a show for Channel 9 this week, say under the loose heading of the footy show,
Yes.
would you do that skit again?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What? Paint my face black and come on?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, of course I wouldn't, Mick.
Of course you wouldn't.
Of course I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because people, the station would get some blowback of what people
That's
perceive.
never worried you before?
The station would get some blowback. On the contrary, Mick, when you sign a contract, you will probably have this in your contract if you've ever signed one, as opposed to doing a handshake agreement. No, I'm just saying that seriously. I'm not being facetious when I say that. The terms of the contract are that you won't bring the station into disrepute or do anything.
Oh, really? And you adhere to that, did you?
Just a minute, Mick, please. That are the terms, and they allow and give you some fair amount of license, and me more than probably anyone, but eventually they would say, under the present climate of the furor, whether it be contrived or real, under the furor of what you did, we would advise you and tell you not to do that again, and I would adhere to what they say.
What about your gut feel? Would you think that you...
Well, in the present, I'm happy to say...
Now, don't worry about the political climate. You've never worried about the climate before.
I didn't say the
Do
political
you
climate.
believe, having all the things that we've read and talked about and seen since you did that skit...
Oh, so that's a very interesting... I haven't seen the film, and
I can't believe you didn't see that film.
What
Were you at home on Sunday night?
I was.
And you chose not to watch it?
Absolutely, but not because of that. I chose not to. What was it on?
It was on telly.
What station?
Channel 2.
Well,
ABC.
see, I watch. Basically, don't watch free-to-air television, basically, and watch only a handful of shows on the cable network that I have in my house.
So you knew you were going to feature in this program? Because
I didn't really.
No, yes, you did, because I told you a week ago. I said, put this in your diary, and watch it, right?
Yeah, well,
You're a central figure in this, and the
that's-
most provocative figure in this.
Now I'm very glad you mentioned this. So you tell me why I'm the central figure in it. Do you think it would be because I would be actually a person of interest that would attract viewers because they want to see exactly what horrendous thing I did or said or acted or whatever? Do you think that would be, as we say, clickbait to get a fair amount of people watching, other than those who would watch in the first place?
Some, but I think you were the metaphor for the argument, I think.
That I painted my face black and pretended I was someone who was black. Can I tell you something?
No, but the thing, Don, feel free to join this discussion.
If I can get a word in.
The issue is, as if we offend either Winmar or Goods or whomever, they determine that. If they take offence at it, we are in the wrong.
That's how it's portrayed, yes.
And you don't agree with that?
No, not at all.
Really?
Because it's about intent, Mick. I went out because Nicky Winmar, because Eddie Maguire, who was hosting the show, said after the break, Nicky Winmar will be on the show. He said that 3 times, and Nicky wasn't coming on the show because he either forgot or he had got waylaid at a hotel where he was having a convivial drink with some friends. That's what I was told. So I thought I'd help me old mate Ed out. And Eddie had no idea. I know he's taken a rap. He told me he'd taken a rap for him condoning. He had no idea I was going to do that. Like most people don't have any idea on the show over 25 years what I was going to do. Caroline Wilson's mannequin notwithstanding. So I went out and I painted my face black and I came back on and as we say, all hell broke loose because that is considered a racist act. I don't accept that, but if the general or a small amount of the population consider that to be racist, Nicky Winmar, I don't care what Nicky Winmar says. I've spoken to him since then, and he was got at by activists and agenda seekers to be indignant about it. Could I tell you this? I am colourblind. I'm colourblind.
Well, you didn't know you were black that night.
I am colourblind, Mick. I have no differentiation between colour. I don't care if you're black, white, blue, green. It was a piece of satire and it was a piece of parody. And I'll tell you another thing. The president, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, has been filmed 3 times wearing blackface. He's still the Prime Minister of Canada. A bloke who is the governor of Virginia called Ralph Northam in America, he's been filmed 3 times wearing blackface. Half of Hollywood wear up at various functions, blacken their face as a form of parody and satire. That's all I did.
Don wants to ask you a question.
I wasn't laughing at Nicky Winmar, I was laughing with him. And after that, all the chat and the bullshit and the bedwetting about it is just grist for the mill.
Donald?
Can I ask you 2 guys? Nicky Winmar lifted his jumper. That was shown in the segment. I only watched this bit for 5 minutes. Was he pointing at his skin or the fact that he might have been overweight? They might have been taunting him over the fence and questioning his
good
weight.
Point. Well, there you are.
Now I just posed that question.
Yes. Well, did we ask him? Or was he interviewed in it? Was he?
No.
So how old is that film of what's it called? The Australian Story.
That was his first. That's his first airing.
How old is it? It's been out for 8 months, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's been out for several months. Yeah,
it's not its first airing at all.
It is on free-to-air TV.
Oh, free-to-air TV.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't watch free-to-air TV.
Well, you can. There's no law that you can't.
But I would never ever know what's on free-to-air television because I don't watch it.
Right. You apologised the following day after the Winmar segment.
I did.
Yeah, was that sincere? Did you mean that?
I was asked to apologise.
Yeah, I didn't ask. I said, were you sincere?
No.
Well, do you want me to give you a Dorothy Dix answer to a Dorothy Dix question?
It's not a Dorothy Dix question.
Well, let me think about, if I said, yes, I was sincere,
You'd be fibbing.
That's what you would say.
Yeah.
And if I said, no, I wasn't sincere, and you'd say, why not? So I'm trying to give you an honest answer. I know in my heart what I meant by doing that, and I didn't think it was offensive to Nicky Winmar because I was laughing with him, not at him, and it's about my intent was to not ridicule him, because I'll ask you, Donald. Now, answer me this. Give us your definition of racism. Do you know what racism is? Go on, off the top of your head.
That's a good question.
Righto.
That is a very good question.
Well, go on
What
then.
is racism?
Yes.
We use that term.
I know it's bandied round, and for anyone who wants to belt someone who has an opinion about people from other countries or from different skin colour, they say you're a racist. But you tell me what you think racism is. Okay,
It's a very good
get
question.
the crickets going, please.
Well, okay. Well, but Sammy,
Oh, come on, Rod, get a bit quicker than that, mate.
I think we're off track a bit.
What's racism, Mick?
I don't believe you're a racist. I believe
Thank you.
Wait a sec. I believe your intent with Nicky Winmar was honourable, right?
Well, I'm telling you it
but
was.
I must say I disagree. I don't think you have been honourable and fair to Adam Goods.
Why not?
That's the bigger issue.
Hang
for
on,
me.
why not?
Well, because I think you've put him down, and I think you've trivialised what he did with the dance and all that stuff.
No, that dance. I was the spectator
hang on.
and watched
See,
that dance.
This is how. Gee, I'm glad you've asked me this. This is how people look at a situation and then take it for their own political agenda and reasons, take it to a different level. Now, I said, and this I'll say this again about Adam Goods. I said on the football show, don't be a jerk, Adam. If you're going to incite people either by the way you play football, staging for free kicks, or on the Indigenous Round Day pretending to throw a spear at the Carlton cheer squad, your side, the Sydney Swans, who are belting Carlton by 10 goals, don't get worried and don't get uptight about people booing you because of your provocative way you played football. It had nothing to do with his being an Aboriginal per se. It had the fact that he was inciting a group of people whose probably their IQ is about the equivalent of their shoe size, and they jumped up and down and thought they'll boo that man because he was inciting them.
Sammy, you say it has nothing to do with racism. You've got to wear Adam Goods' shoes.
I don't have to wear Adam Goods' shoes at all.
He's it's how he feels is the relevant consideration. You know, he says on this show that he was forced out of football because. Wait a sec.
Look,
let me finish.
All right.
Let me finish because he didn't want to subject himself to widespread booing and jeering from people every time he played footy.
Well,
Now,
hey, mate, toughen up. That's what happens. And if they're not booing you, because
is that Warwick Kappa?
If they're not booing you because you're of a different race or you're an Aboriginal, if they're not booing you for that, then toughen up, mate, because everyone gets booed.
Can we change the subject?
No, I just want to say this. If you, Mick, if I was asking you a question and your genuine opinion was my opinion, if I said to you, why do you think the people in that Carlton game against the Sydney Swans started booing Adam Goods? And you said, well, I think he probably pretended to throw a spear at them and that got up the nose, up the dress of the Carlton cheer squad and they started booing him. If you thought that, would you say that?
If I thought that, I would.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's all I thought that.
Yeah.
And then someone said, well, then they started booing him either before or after that because he staged for free kicks. If you thought they were booing him because he staged for free kicks like I did, like Don did, like you did when you played for Werribee, if we got booed for doing that, would you say that's probably why they're booing him because he stages for free kicks?
One more, Don.
Would you say that? If you thought
okay,
that.
well, I'll answer that with a question. Do you think that Joel Selwood gets the same attention for staging or allegedly staging for free kicks that Adam Goods did?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
No, I don't.
Oh.
No, I don't.
You don't think that there's there's a number of people that get booed because A, they're great players, and B, when they
You haven't made it as our coach John Kennedy said, until the opposition boo you from across the fence. As a footballer, you haven't made
And
until
if they're
the
not
opposition
booing,
boo and
if-
spit it.
No, Mick,
Well, that's
if-
superficial,
If they're
Don.
not
It's
booing,
not superficial.
It's a deeper issue than
and
that.
if they're not booing you because of your race, if the race or the colour of your skin or your religious persuasion or your gender or your sexual preference, if they're not booing you because of that, but purely by the way your actions on the football field, toughen up, mate, because you're in the frying pan and you don't want to jump out and go into the fire.
All right. Well, Donald, I'll give you the dictionary definition of racism.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is without looking. If you decry, defile or degrade someone, think you're superior than them or try and dominate them, that's racism.
Yeah, well, that'll do.
That's right.
It's literally-
At least I know what it is.
I
And
know
I
that.
did none of those things with Nicky Winmar
It is literally
or Adam Goods.
prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior.
There you are.
Yeah.
So what I said was absolutely spot on.
It was.
And none of those definitions or those points in that definition could be applied to Nicky Winmar or Adam Goods. I gave a
Okay.
considered opinion as to why I thought people booed him.
Can we leave this with my suggestion to you that you watch that show at some point at your leisure?
Well, seeing as I'm the main face of it, black and all, seeing as I'm the main face of it, I might.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this about the
I
people who put it together. And this is, you said I've got a good memory for things. I don't think I could say this any better than what I'm about to say now. And a bloke called Thomas, now you'll know I'm not reading this because I'm looking you in the eye, but a bloke called Thomas Macaulay said this about people who cobble together stuff and take it out of context. That he was a coxcomb and a bore, weak, vain, pushing, curious, garrulous, was obvious to all those who were acquainted with him. That he could not reason, had no wit, no humour or no eloquence was apparent from his writing or his films. Nature has made them a slave and an idolater. Their mind resembles one of those creepers which the botanists call parasites and which subsist only by clinging round the stems and imbibing the juices of stronger plants. I am one of those plants that they cling round because they want to get some mileage out of me for doing something that is so indifferent and so passive that it's a joke.
Okay. Right. Well, let's leave that. Now, Donald, I want to ask you about the overnight news out of New York. Weinstein has been found guilty of offences that could put him in jail for
20
to 30 years.
which is not going to happen, but
No.
could put him in jail. We're a long way away, but have you got any sympathy for this bloke, or is he getting his right whack?
I think he's getting, well, I don't know anything about the case. We're only, and I think the women have come forward, and I think he is getting it now.
So the women have come forward, Donald.
Forward, yes.
Yep. So he is a recidivist.
There's too many women. There is too many women coming
He
forward.
was a recidivist man in a position of power who's used his influence and power to succour favour from sexual gratification from people who are desperate to get a job in the industry that is the most powerful in the world if you're an entertainer, and he has used it beyond reason and beyond any degree of responsibility, and he is a piece of shit.
Okay, good boy. Right, good.
And I will concede that the women might think, yeah, well, let's lie down and let him do what he wants to me because I want to get on in this business. And unless you're a young starlet or a young man trying to get up, you think, this is my career. Well, I do this just to see if I can further my career. And he has preyed on them, and he is an absolute piece of garbage and shit.
Right, okay. We accept that, I think. Now, what sort of penalty would be adequate, would you think, on what we know?
Well, and what
there are
we
a number
know,
of there are a number of cases.
Yeah, but
so do you take them collectively or individually?
take them
if you take
collectively.
them individually, he won't get out of jail.
You'll die in jail.
He'll die in jail.
I would say, it's a very good question, Mick. I would say the way it's headed, he'll probably get 3.5 years and might get some of it suspended. I would think they won't go, and you take that against, now you take that against a man called Roger Stone, who lied to the FBI about his...
Your mate?
Yes, about Trump. who lied. Do you know what they gave him? They gave him 8 years. And you put those two cases together and you wonder why the judicial system in America is absolutely gone
Well,
mad.
ours has got similar quirks in it.
Yes, probably has, but not as bad as that. So
Okay.
I reckon he'll probably get 3.5 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
now-
closer to home.
Yep.
Last week, St Kevin's came under fire for teachers about grooming students. Now, can I pose a hypothetical? The AFL, with its women's competition,
Ooh.
the grooming,
No, this is fair comment. This is
the grooming
fair
of
comment,
women within that competition, I believe that this is making a real rod for their back. They've tried out to be politically correct by including women, but I think they're going to get a kick in the butt, the AFL, on the issue of women within the sport. The women want to get more money. There's going to be this, I predict, in the future. And also within that group, I had a young girl who I took an interest in and got her into the sport at an elite level. She gave it away because she lost interest, but also couldn't stand the bitchiness within the circle of girls because they were swapping from one relationship to another.
But all of them, were they?
No, a few of them, and within that group, there was a lot of disharmony. She just gave away football.
What interest did you have in the girl, Don? Just as a matter of interest. What did you just find her appealing as a footballer?
Well, as a 15-year-old.
Oh, I see.
Thank you very much.
So, Don, here is a legitimate question. Why did you think the 15-year-old, did you know her or know her parents? Or
Yeah, I know her mother.
all right, that's
Okay,
fair enough.
so Donald, Sam, either or both of you, you don't think there's grooming in the workplace? You don't think that?
Now, Mick, please.
Oh,
You're so defensive about this. This is a reasonable subject, and we spoke about it last week.
I asked a question. I didn't make an unequivocal declaration.
No,
of,
you're about to soft pedal it. We
Am I?
spoke.
Who
You
laughed over there? Who's that laughing?
Don't worry about who's laughing. You asked me last week we discussed this, and
Yeah.
I said it's nothing. It's the Me Too movement in reverse. It is that, and I don't care. Look, why do we have to say this? I don't care if you want to be with men and you're a man. If you want to be with women, I don't care. It doesn't worry me. But if you are a young heterosexual girl and your parents put you into the AFWL, they don't want to have any pressure put on their daughter to start a relationship or think they've got to placate themselves and give
Okay.
over themselves because they won't
Okay,
get
I
promoted
accept that.
or so there's pressure on them.
I know. Yeah, that's and I think it's relevant, right? I accept
What's
that.
relevant?
Your proposition before that there's a concern. I'm not sure how serious or how major it is, but wherever young women are,
Yes.
there is the prospect or the reality of grooming.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
And
what are
men.
you shaking your head about?
And men.
You don't think grooming occurs in the workplace?
I didn't say that.
No. What? Of course it does.
So grooming is trying to propagandize, if you like. Grooming is trying to get people to come over to your way of thinking and befriend you with the view to a sexual relationship, isn't it?
Yep.
Like
I'm
the
happy with
man
it.
from
it's the action.
St. Kevin's.
It's called the action by a pedophile of preparing a child for a meeting, especially via an internet chat room,
Yep.
with the intention of committing a sexual offence.
Okay, well,
It's not only a pedophile. It's
No, well,
Yes, no, agreed. Yeah, I agree. That's a very important distinction.
So you
Don.
mentioned the
not
St.
everyone
Kevin's man.
who may be grooming someone is a pedophile.
No. So you mentioned the St. Kevin's.
Yeah.
No, in the light of St Kevin's ruling last week, the AFL going forward. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or next
But
year,
Donald,
but in years to come.
You always say that I take the other side here, but what we've done
No,
here,
you
this
get
may
so
be
defensive
this
about
may be,
discussing
okay,
these things.
This may be, and probably is, a consequence of creating a competition for women
Yes.
at the elite level.
Yes.
But there was a competition for women at the domestic level before this anyway.
And your point.
Well, the girls who want to, I think the overriding concern is giving girls who want to play football the opportunity to do it.
And
Yes,
these same problems
of course.
happened in the domestic competition
Yep.
that exist now in the AFL competition. They were in
The
existence.
question of how widespread it is, that's the issue.
That's correct. And do you have some are they self-regulatory? Is there an overseeing body that keeps an eye on people who don't want to be befriended and don't want to be groomed?
I think the officials in the footy club are responsible for that.
And
It should be.
And if I have to say this, sounds like I'm protesting too much. It is irrelevant whether there's women married to women in the competition or there's women going out with. That's not what I'm on about. But if you are not in that camp, I use the word advisedly. Not in that camp. Well, you don't want to have any pressure on you for advancement or promotion or sponsorship by being ostracised because you're not in that camp.
Okay, no, we're all, I think, basically in agreement. I want to ask you two about, now, Pauline Hanson, I sometimes think that she says things that relate to that a lot of us are thinking, right?
And not brave enough to say.
Go on.
Yes, I accept that. That's the concession. But how she could have talked about that, to use one of your favourite experiences, that piece of shit who incinerated his wife and his 3 kids,
Yes.
and say, these things happen.
Well,
I mean, that is the most staggering response by someone in public office.
So the policeman
yeah.
who got suspended and stood down said he probably was driven too far.
I think he posed a question, didn't he, rather than make a statement.
Well, how would he know? He said there is the likelihood that he thought he was driven too far, and that led him to do that. Now, Pauline Hanson is not condoning, and nor is the copper condoning it. But just think about it. What would drive a man to throw his child off the Westgate Bridge?
Yep.
Or what would drive a man or a person to set fire to his car with his wife and 3 kids in it? This is depression gone on steroids.
More than depression, John. It is more than depression.
It's derangement, isn't it?
I said on steroids. So you name any term after depression.
And it'll never be cured because it is an emotive issue. And everybody is wired differently emotively.
But you can't have someone in office.
Hang on, Mick. And what's happening in a lot of them, I'm not defending the man at all.
No, I understand. I know that.
I know of a case, and it was put to me, and I spoke to the lady last week, intervention order. Now, the chap can't go and see his children. A third party's got to be involved for a man to go and see his children. Now, this man is obviously more involved emotionally in the relationship than what the wife was, but it's got to the point where this woman was telling me that she's got the police that will come and put spikes. She's frightened of him driving a car through a front wall. So the police are on standby to put spikes down on the road for him.
So I agree with you, Don. I said, but the very fact that you said, well, look, you gave a reason why a man might do that. And that is, if you say that means automatically people think, oh, well, you're condoning it and you're just cutting in some slack.
No, I didn't ask you that.
I was asked by a man who listens to this show, Ben Fordham, on radio 5 years ago when he rang up about the bloke, I can't think of his name, he threw his kid off the Westgate Bridge. And I said, don't you feel sorry for that man? And he went, Ben, fair enough, went berserk and said, you got to be joking, haven't you? I said, no, mate, just think about it. Do you not feel, this is irrespective of the wife and the kid who was thrown over, I said, do you not feel sorry for a man who would drive himself inside his brain to think that he could stop his car on a bridge and throw his kid over? Do you not feel sorry for what's going on in his brain? Why?
But aren't we capable of better? Don't we have to sometimes live with things?
Yes, but when it's emotion, Mick,
we are.
I know that.
You can't judge. And I heard this morning driving, they're trying to get up a parliamentary inquiry into this. I mean, come on.
It's like Rosie Batty, who, isn't it? It's like a...
What?
Well, didn't Rosie Batty's
husband estranged
come round
husband,
and kill their son?
Their boy, yeah.
That's right.
With a cricket bat.
That's right.
Yeah.
What
No, I know these things happen. All I'm saying is why someone in public office would say these things happen, and he may have been driven to it.
You just said...
Yeah,
but that's what.
But you can't.
But that is a legitimate. These things do happen. Well, they do.
Tell me the last time you know of someone.
Well, I've given you 4 examples of these things happen.
Yeah,
Rosie Batty,
there's a family of 4 destroyed here.
Mick, the very fact that you think that we're cutting anyone some slack.
No.
Of course,
she shouldn't have said that.
These things happen, Mick. We've just given you 4 examples where these things happen. So,
Not on this magnitude,
Can I ask
well,
you? Can we
just
go a little?
minute,
Can we go?
that's not right, Mick.
isn't it?
No. Do you think it's the bloke who threw his kid over the Westgate Bridge, the Rosie Batty's unfortunate experience of her husband killing her son?
Yep.
These things happen.
They're horrific. I understand that.
That's
this is a
what we're
family
saying.
extinguished.
Mick, the gravity of it is horrendous. But for Pauline Hanson, that is just, these things happen, and what can we do about it?
Can I also go on a little bit further? Do you believe in the death penalty?
We've been here, haven't we?
Have we? I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the first time I've brought this
No,
up.
well, Sammy's in favour of the death penalty.
Well, I am too.
Under what circumstances?
Can I
Well,
finish?
for heinous crimes.
When they are beyond not beyond a reason, but when they're just clear cut. And the reason I say I'm for the death penalty is I don't want my taxes to keep someone alive for 40 or 50 years.
At $100,000 a year.
At $100,000 a year when they've given up their right to live on the planet. That's my point.
So
about
that gentleman that murdered the mother in Pakenham, and also prior to that had a previous one and was out on parole for stabbing another woman, I think,
Yes.
in Dandenong. Do you think the death penalty should have applied there?
Well, this is a case-by-case thing. I mean, I see Ivan Milat, I would have, if it was, did he actually concede he did it?
No.
No, he didn't.
no.
Well, if he didn't concede he did it, it's a bit hard to say beyond a reasonable doubt because he maintained his innocence.
All right, well,
to
talking
the
about
end.
penalties, what would you have given to the soccer player who bit the dick of an opponent in a scrap in Europe?
Give him a medal and an invitation to dinner. If he bit my dick. No.
Did you read that story?
No.
There was an altercation between two blokes. A third person came in who was the opposition, obviously, and the bloke just
That's a
decided
step up
to-
from Mike Tyson beating Evander Holly eating. That's the step up from Evander Holyfield having his ear bitten off by Mike Tyson, and John Hopper-Whito sticking his finger up a bloke's ort.
What is the Invisible Man saying?
Oh, he
I
says a
don't know.
lot we don't understand.
And now this is a serious one.
Well,
what
would you give that man?
Which one?
The man who bit his opponent's cock.
He got 5 years.
Did he?
Yeah, not in jail, but suspended from the soccer competition.
Did he circumcise him by mistake? Was he circumcised? And when he took his nicks off to go into the shade, he thought, shit, I've been circumcised.
He's Nicks.
Yeah.
Haven't been called Nicks for 40 years.
Yeah, that's right.
What about Caulfield? Now, is that story true about Caulfield Grammar declining to name its swimming pavilion the Mac Horton Pavilion because they don't want to offend the Chinese?
Oh, I know.
That couldn't possibly be right,
Well,
could it?
if
Well,
there's
it's in there. It's in the paper. It's been in there twice now.
Is that is...
Yeah, but they got Chinese students,
Oh,
Michael.
go on, have
and
they?
It's worth billions of dollars
Well,
to the Australian economy, education.
Well, if I had my
and
kid on the list at Caulfield Grammar as a prospective student, I'd be taking him off.
Absolutely. You would be taking him off.
Yep.
What is that?
Jeez.
It is a money
To
thing.
offend the Chinese.
It is a money thing, Donald.
It is.
It is. And at some stage, you put your principle over your greed or your pragmatism and you say this is nonsense. And why we're letting Chinese students into the University of Canberra at the minute who have to go into a 2 weeks quarantine because of the coronavirus, why they're coming in the first place and not being in quarantine over in their own country before they come is beyond me.
Correct, but we'll stay with the issue. Horton's crime was to blow the lid
I know.
on a drug cheat.
Not blow the lid. He just didn't stand on the dais.
Well, he was
and
drawing attention to it.
to it.
Mick,
Oh.
it's beyond comprehension.
If I were Mac Horton, I'd sort of say to the school, righto, wipe me out of every part of my history at this school.
And Mick, I'm in vehement agreement with you. No, it is pathetic. It is.
Jeez.
It is just nonsense.
What?
So Don, now I tread warily here. We had tremendous feedback about a thing that's sweeping the younger millennials, I think, about bleaching various parts. No, hang on.
We haven't.
We got tremendous feedback about
Who from?
from the social media. People took it quite seriously and said there's a fair amount of sphincter bleaching going on in the general wider community, and that we don't know about it because we're the age we are, and we probably wouldn't engage in it.
Where is this going, John?
Well, I'll tell you where it's going. I want to ask you. I'm going to want to conduct an experiment with you. We had Ash Pollard on here, and she said she does a radio show. You mightn't have listened to what she said, but she said, because you might have got bored of it, she said she did a radio show, and I want you to conduct an experiment with you, Donald. I said, what do you discuss, what subjects do you discuss, Ash? I said, we do a bit of politics and local identities. And she said, well, we had a competition where my partner, now please don't think I'm making this up or I'm being rude or salacious.
I know her partner.
Her partner on the
on
the
air.
radio.
Yeah.
Someone said if you dipped your testicles in a bowl of soy sauce, would you be able to taste it? Would it come through your genes or whatever? Would you be able to taste the fact that you had your testicles dipped in some soy sauce? Would you have the taste in your mouth? And I said, you're not serious, you discussed that? She said, yes. I said, what, did your partner, on-air partner, did he actually put his ghoulies into a bowl of soy sauce? She said, yes. I said, what, were you watching this? She said, no, I wasn't watching it, but I wouldn't watch it. I said, oh, good on you. Now, Don.
I can't believe this.
Well, I'm
talking to yourself.
Just to see if we could prove it one way or the
what
other.
you're talking about oral sex?
No, Don.
No. I don't
stick
know where
with the
you're
program.
going. I am trying to stick with
Well,
it. All I know
don't-
is he's got his testicles in soy sauce.
Yes.
Now, so what happens then?
Well, you're not listening, Don.
I am listening intently.
A listener rang into her station and said,
I
"Is
know
it
that,
possible
John.
to
So what are you getting at?
could he taste the soy sauce in his mouth?
When?
After
She put his testicles in the
She
sauce.
She didn't do it, he did it.
He did. He put his testicles. He lowered them into a bowl of
I know.
soy
Okay,
sauce.
So the question is, did the flavour permeate his body?
Yeah, and could he taste it? And the woman, who personally rang in. So what I'm asking Don is, just wait for it, Mick. Would you be prepared, Don? Wait for this.
Put my balls in soy sauce.
Not in soy sauce. Say Listerine. Would you be prepared to disrobe and put your agates into a sort of a dish of Listerine and see if your mouth freshened up? But could I give you
Are
a?
you being serious?
Yeah, I am. Could I give you a warning? Don't get it on your aort. You'll end up running around the fucking building.
Don't worry, I think I'd be
times.
running around with Listerine on
Would
my
you be
balls.
prepared to drop your agates into some Listerine
No, I
just
wouldn't,
so we
because
could
it'd
see?
burn. It would burn because I've used Listerine.
Well, what
in my
about
mouth.
tomato sauce or
Can we
ketchup?
change this? Mick,
Yeah.
have you got
I
something
want
else?
I've got a footy question for both of you two. Hey,
Oh, what
get your mind out of the gutter. This is the two of you
Not
here.
out of the gutter, Mick.
The leadership group. Brisbane have got 9 people
Oh, it's
in. Wait a sec. In its leadership group, Melbourne yesterday restored some tradition.
No, what tradition?
Well, their leadership group is the captain and the vice captain.
And who was it voted by?
Well, it would have been probably the coaches directly.
No,
wouldn't it?
it wasn't. Apparently, it was the players. The news report I got was that the players voted for Max Gawn.
No,
now that
that's
should be
not
done.
the issue.
No,
the
that's not the issue.
issue
Don.
is
Well, there's another issue then.
one
No,
footy
there's
club
not.
in Brisbane in Queensland has 9 players in its leadership group. Melbourne has reverted to tradition and have 2.
Mick,
2 or 1.
I
The
have
captain
this.
and-
How refreshing that someone at the football club, namely the coach,
Yep.
has said, we want one leader
Yep.
on field, not 9 or 10 or back line and forward line and centre line marshals and coaches.
Isn't it weird?
We want one man as a captain to lead the side, and that man is Max Gawn, and that's it.
Right. Now, what about
9
you, Donald?
captains is just showing you are going nowhere.
When you were appointed captain of Hawthorn, how would you have been with 8 deputies?
Yeah.
Well, it was done differently then. Can I explain the process? The recommendation was done by the match committee at Hawthorn,
Yeah.
and that went to the general committee to be ratified.
Yep.
Now, I'll pose you a question.
Good.
In 1974, what would have happened at Hawthorn had the general committee gone with the recommendation of the match committee? Now, the match committee's recommendation to Hawthorn
Yeah.
was Don Scott captain, Alan Martello vice captain.
Yes.
That was overturned by the General Committee.
What's it?
And Don Scott was made captain and Lee Matthews vice captain.
Well, did the coach, was John Kennedy the coach then?
That's right.
Well, didn't he
was
arc
on
up?
the match. He was on the match committee.
Did he arc up about the...
I don't know who arced up, but the recommendation was such, and the General Committee overruled.
Well, see, that shouldn't happen, should it?
Well, it shouldn't happen, but the minutes probably of the general meeting on would be that's how the process is arrived at. And I'm saying...
So the butcher and the jeweller and the plumber, they overturned a recommendation from John Kennedy.
Well,
No, the match committee, just not John Kennedy, the match
no, that's what
committee.
we're saying.
Yeah,
That
we're saying,
the quorum or the majority decision was that they make you the captain, and they overturned Martello and made Lee
But the
Matthews.
General Committee did that.
No matter who did it, at least they only wanted one captain.
No,
Didn't
they?
they?
Had a vice. They just
They had a
changed the vice captain.
and they just
Yeah.
changed the vice
They just
captain. That
changed
was
the
the
vice captain.
recommendation.
Lethal was preferred by the General Committee
Yes.
to Alan Martello, who was preferred by the Match Committee. Well, the
Yes.
Match Committee should have said, listen, you blokes, you go out and sell raffle tickets. We'll determine who leads this footy team.
And if there was a
But
dispute,
that's also a reflection on
President,
society, the
sure.
way it was back then, that you listened to your elders. There was no consultation. My understanding is Max Gawn was elected by the players. Now, come on.
What? Come on, what?
Yeah. What, because he's the most popular player? Do they take into a lot of other things into account?
Well, if you give the players the right to pick their leader, that's what happens. Hey, Sammy,
yes.
what about Mo Hope the other day? There's 5,000 million words written in the Herald Sun about what she's lost her love for football, right? You listening to me?
No, he's looking somewhere else.
Well, we got a guest, and he said he'd be in at 10.
Yeah.
It's not quite 10, is it?
No, it's not quite 10.
Well, he's winding us up.
It's not 10 in South Australia.
It is 10.
Yeah.
It is 10.
So Mo
All right,
is
we'll
pictured
give
with
us 10 minutes.
her Mrs. Mo on the front page of the paper, saying she's lost her love of football because of the homophobic chants over the fence. Now, I've met Mo, and I don't mind Mo, but that's a fraud, though. She's not playing football because no one was going to pick her up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
She didn't live up to her reputation
And
that
she
had
shouldn't have played-
in the domestic competition.
This doesn't help the argument about homophobia.
That we play the race, the sexist, the gender card just when we get in
That's
trouble.
disappointing.
We
that.
jump into the lifeboat and we blame everyone else except ourselves.
I mean, as I said, I the little I know of her, I like her, but you shouldn't do that. That colours the argument, and it's not going in the right direction.
Hey, by the way, when we started this podcast,
No,
I agree.
It's like I didn't want to bring it up, but it's like Qantas. It's it is.
I'm not laughing at the issue. I'm laughing at what's coming out of your mouth,
But
Mister. And sorry,
yeah, that's right. So I know we've done this before, but there is even more angst about service animals in America. People have gone mad. I was watching.
you should take out citizenship. I reckon. In
I was
America.
watching because I don't watch free-to-air television here. I watch cable news, all the other, and they said a bloke sat next to a person, and I'm not making it up, so it's documented well on the files. Sat next to a woman who had an iguana. Do you know what an iguana is? It's a large lizard. An iguana on her shoulder and on her lap. And they said the incidence of animals defecating and pissing and biting people on planes because of the service animal laxity is extraordinary. And I want to know, do you think Mr. Joyce, who heads up Qantas, do you think he has an animal, a comfort animal, that he and his partner, do you think Mr. Joyce and his partner,
What's his partner's name?
Mr. Joyce, and I'm not stuttering, I'm not repeating myself. Do you think Mr. Joyce and Mr. Joyce might have a pet chihuahua?
Iguana?
Do you think Mr. Joyce would have an iguana, and the other Mr. Joyce might have a rabbit, and the iguana might eat the rabbit on the plane, and then there'd be a domestic dispute between the boss of Qantas and his husband. Do you think that might happen, Don?
Yes, highly likely, John. I'm just patronised. I cannot believe what's coming out of your
There's a
mouth.
lizard. There's a Shetland pony.
We've got to go,
Right.
Because we've got to go to our very special
Righto.
guest. Two things I just want to flag with you.
Righto.
Two things. There are 32 players in the AFL, Sammy.
Yes, go ahead.
32 players in the AFL, Donald, earning $800,000 plus. I just want to put that on the table. And the other one, I'm flagging this. We are going to get Richard Goyder, the very quietly spoken chairman of the AFL Commission. We're going to either get him on the phone or in here to explain
Get
this.
him in here. We can't do it on the phone.
Okay, this is what he said in 2017, Richard Goyder, chairman of the AFL Commission. He said he hates football's ties with the pokies. Hates, that was his word.
Yep.
They are, quote, a real problem. That same commission that he heads has just renewed a contract with a betting agency for about $8 million a year. Hypocrisy lives, doesn't it?
It is absolutely hypocritical. Hypocritical?
No, it's not.
No, that's
Hypocritical.
apocryphal. Hypocritical.
Hypocritical.
No, it is. That's called
Gross hypocrisy.
That's called pragmatism.
Well, no. Well, I'm
Yes,
not. I'm
you
not
want the
accepting.
money, so you'll
I'm not
just-
accepting pragmatism.
You'll
That is
abandon all
hypocrisy.
your principles for the money.
Yeah,
So
That's
next,
being
and they
pragmatic.
should be asked to. They should be asked to defend that. The AFL.
Colin Carter
Yeah.
took poker
Yes.
machines out of
So,
Geelong
So how does
Football
Collins
Club.
sit there and nod his head when they say we're accepting $8 million from a betting
My
agency?
point exactly, Mickey. It's
as
a
we're
beautiful
winding
thing.
this
All right.
podcast
Yep.
up, maybe next week I could talk about the Darling River, Chautauqua.
Chautauqua.
Yes.
What is Chautauqua?
It's a
Donald?
dressage horse,
It's
isn't it?
It's a.
Well, you were a
It's
race.
a mushroom, isn't it?
Well, you don't want to listen to the Darling River or the local
Chautauqua was
CFA meeting of last
No,
week.
I'm with you. I've seen the
article,
Darling with not a drop in it.
Yeah, the
And
longest river in
now-
the world with no water in it.
if you
said-
include the Condamine, but now it's flooding.
Well, good. And
there's-
so it should. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to put those.
And Holden have bitten the dust,
Yes.
and I wouldn't wonder. Their last VN or VE models were shocking.
Were they?
No wonder they've bitten the dust.
I had one of those.
Yeah,
a
they're bloody
VN.
awful.
I had one for
I
about
gave
23
back, had it
years.
for 2 weeks and gave
Righto,
it back.
Rod, music please.